Let's find something we want to make, some crazy idea. We'll figure out what it takes to make that dream appear. We'll try to understand now as we ride along again. Now hop on the coding train, coding train, coding train. Come along and join us as we light it up in code, using only our imagination as the road. Whatever you're conceiving, you'll start seeing what you're believing. Just hop on the coding train, coding train, coding train. Pick you all up at the station. We'll make things of our own creation. Fireworks, we can generate sounds or trees or mazes. Make a butterfly or reflect our faces. A retro game for a tweet about. And never forget that this.dot. Just hop on the coding train, coding train, coding train.
I did it again! I did it again! I did it again! Hello! I failed. You know, the thing is, my new system here, which hopefully is going to be better with less crashing, still is subject to human error. And to play that ridiculous trailer thing, I have to mute my microphone or else I will be talking over it. And then I forgot to unmute my microphone because with OBS, the microphone settings are not on a per scene basis. They're kind of global. Anyway, that's not interesting. Hello! It is me, Dan Schiffman, and the Coding Train to welcome you on a Friday. What I was saying is that I'm pleased that it's the afternoon here in New York City. It's a slightly earlier time than usual. I know that there are viewers all around the world who have been watching it in the middle of the night or way past their bedtime. Some of your younger viewers in Europe, you know who I'm talking about. Simon, and we're staying way past their bedtime, so I'm glad that it's a more reasonable hour today. Wait. You can hear me though, right? Oh, people are saying no live stream for me. I'm looking at the chat, which I really should do, because got to know is saying going to work, so I can't watch, no live stream, meaning I can't watch it. Not that it's not working. Okay. I am getting warmed up. So, welcome. This is the Coding Train. My name is Dan. I come here every Friday to do some coding stuff, something like that. I also embarrass myself and make lots of mistakes and generally don't know what I'm talking about, as evidenced by the video on const that I released this week and made last week, which I kind of got a lot of stuff wrong. So you should read the comment thread. Hopefully you guys can upvote the clarifications in that comment thread. I pinned one to the top, and I'm thinking maybe I should re-record it. The main thing that I got wrong I need a sound, I need like my, something better, but like my corrections department sound clip, which is that I talked a bit about how const as an as a tool for memory management or efficiency, because the computer, the interpreter, the browser, whatever it is, knows that you're never going to reassign the value, so it can be more efficient about the memory. And that's not really true at all. Maybe there is some slight benefits, but really the reason is just for maintainability and for the human being to kind of protect oneself from not making future errors. Don't go off my chat. Yeah, I'm curious about the sync. I do have the delay on to keep the audio in sync. All right, so that was my main corrections department about my const video. I'd be curious, tweet at me at Schiffman if you think I should redo it, or kind of it's fine, you kind of got it wrong, but it's in the comments and you're not going to destroy the world with misinformation. But it is true that there was a time, I feel like, when I first started making these videos that I had researched and thought about and read about and taught for a whole bunch of years, and had some grounding in some sort of knowledge, and then was rehearsed and prepared. And then more recently I'm just let me go try to make some videos on Friday. ES6 const, it probably means this. So, but thank you to the community for very nicely offering me some corrections. Okay, what do I want to do? Today is a bit tight. It is 1 p.m. here, Eastern Daylight Time. I have a meeting to be at 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So whatever happens around 2:45, 2 hours from now, I will be wrapping things up. I want to talk about the community projects and show things that people have made. And today's topic is ES6 classes. So a couple words about that. First of all, for those of you who are like, where are your machine learning videos? I have a bad habit. The more people ask me about something, I tend to get in this like procrastination, like mental block thing, like with Chrome extensions. I think machine learning is slowly following in there. I will get to it. If you really want to yell at me and make me feel guilty about it, you should join the Patreon group, patreon.com/codingtrain, and contribute and join the Slack channel. And then that's where you can really yell at me and I'll feel guilty and probably get to them a little sooner. But right now I am focused on making tutorials for beginners who are just starting to learn to code with JavaScript and perhaps P5.js. And so today's topic is classes, object-oriented programming for the total beginner. So let me look for something here. I'm going to have to ridiculously go to my channel and quickly scroll past that video. I'm going to go here to, oh, the camera went off. What are the numbers? Anybody know the numbers from Lost? I feel like I need to punch those in before I press this button. Oh, I have a new camera. Thank you to some other folks here who are doing some tutorials at NYU in this room. There's a camera right up here. I could probably show it to you and I could look at it like this. I'll do that in a little bit. Somebody remind me. But I want to continue my train of thought here. So oh, don't watch this ad. Look at these. How do I get there? I want the playlist. I want the playlist. What? There we go. This playlist, which is the playlist intended for beginners. A couple things I need to mention. So this is where if you had never programmed before and want to get started, you can get started right here with Introduction to P5.js. And I did make these a couple years ago, so some of the stuff is a little out of date, but mostly still relevant. This 1.2 video was me trying to put a Band-Aid on the fact that the desktop P5 editor that I used in this throughout the videos is not really available anymore. So using brackets was just one possibility. But there is a problem, which is that, and let me just mention this, which is that, the download, the P5.js download changed. So the folder structure that I used in the video changed. And so if you look at this link, however, you can get the same folder structure that I used in the video. Let's see if anybody said that worked for them. Thanks. I'm glad I noticed this. It works. There isn't syntax highlighting anymore in brackets. Okay, I'll come back to this later. Okay, so now let me go back here. Where are we? Function basics. Okay, that's going to be fine. Function parameters and arguments. That's going to be fine. Functions and return. That's going to be fine. Functions inside of objects. Oh no, I have to redo all of this. I don't like any of this. Oh, then the constructor function. Ugh. Oh, multiple JS files. Okay. This will do. Clicking. No. Got to redo all this. Oh, got to redo all this. Oh my goodness. Because I now am a person. I don't know if you heard that. I couldn't hear it. Who uses ES6 classes, a different way of programming object-oriented programming in JavaScript that is newer, and I like it better. Frankly, I like it better. So I need to redo all these videos. So boy, I didn't realize how many I had to redo. Ugh. But at the very least, I'm going to pick up, I think, from here. So I'm going to start a new 6-point series, which will be about objects. I'll have to replace all this stuff. I don't know what I'm doing. This is going to be hard. So that's what my main plan for today is. So I'll come back to that. So I'm looking at the chat. I'm seeing all sorts of messages that are confusing me. I will not read them then. Okay. Now, I want to talk about some of these community projects. GitHub. Can you guys, by the way, hear the party chatter thing that's going on in the hallway? There's a lot of people talking. Coding train. GitHub.com/coding train. So this is the GitHub repository organization thing for the coding train. I know I already have a 6.0. All those videos are going to go away. I'm going to renumber them. It's fine. It's fine. I'm going to figure it out. There's a bunch of things here. So first of all, I have been totally amazed by people's 10-print thing. So first of all, I did bring the 10-print book with me. Let me be perfectly clear. A lot of people are saying, thanks to Dan's inspiration, thanks to the inspiration of the Coding Train video, I made this 10-print thing. Here, thank these people who wrote this book and inspired me. I love this book. It's like a wonderful history of creative computing, especially if you were, not born during some of the years that are talked about in this book. You'll find a lot of this fascinating, and it's a wonderful historical and cultural perspective. So I want to plug this book and say thank you to all the authors of 10print, 10print.org. And then if you're looking for what people have made with the 10print challenge, one place you can just go is twitter.com/ hashtag probably /10print. Is that how the URL is formed? And you can just see so many wonderful kind of beautiful versions and variations off 10print. So one thing that I was really thrilled about that I think I would like to do more of in the future, and look at this. This is wonderful. Paul 0x1c used a school lesson to try 10print on paper using some kind of like ancient machine. What is that? It's a Casio. Oh my goodness. I used to have a Casio watch. I wish I still had one of those Casio watches. I know how to pronounce it. So figuring out how to program random numbers into that and then drawing on that. And look at this. In this area, 22 by 22, there's 2 to the 484 options. Whoa, that's a big, of possible 10print. This is blowing my mind right here. This is awesome. Wonderful work. So I've really been thrilled to see the diversity of ideas and people who have created things with 10print. So one thing that I discovered that's so successful about this is it's actually that my video was like 8 or 9 minutes long, or 10 minutes or 12 minutes. It was very short. And the amount of code in it was basically nothing. It's like 12 lines. So I think I would like to do more of this in the future. Coding challenges that I make that are incredibly simple, that demonstrate a simple geometric idea and then see the explosion of ideas that come out of that. Yes, it is a scientifique calculator. Ooh, that sounds like something really interesting. Okay. So I wanted to mention that. I will also show you, so it's great to see all these on Twitter with the hashtag. We should have a hashtag for like the coding challenges. Ooh, right? I'm with it. I know about hashtags. I snap, chat. Not really. Okay. I'm very embarrassing. But oh my goodness, look at this. So many changes recently. So first of all, thank you to Me I Am So Me. They have been helping me wonderfully with keeping the GitHub repositories maintained and pull requests that I've just fallen totally behind on. So I'm going to go to Rainbow Code, another place you can submit. If I go under Coding Challenges, all the way down to the most recent one, Coding Challenge 76, 10print. You should also feel free to, and we can see we just have a bunch here. Compared to what's on Twitter is nothing. This is nothing compared to what's on Twitter. So it's nice to have, the Twitter thing is great, and especially if you're sharing something with me, if you can make a little animated GIF or an image, that's really wonderful and helpful for me to be able to see it and share it with other people. But let's go nuts and click on all of these real quick. So how do I do that? Open in a new tab automatically. Option click? Nope. Command click. So let's look at this. Here is a wonderful version by Joseph Kuchar. I don't know if that's pronounced correctly. I love this with it scrolling. That's really cool. I wonder if you could make a terrain, like a 3D terrain out of this, almost like an overhead view. That's really nice. Whoa, this is awesome. Oh, no, it's doing it. Oh, I just press any keys and it goes through it. Wow, look at that. Emulator of the Commodore 64 right here in the browser. That is totally awesome. Thank you to Marriage from the Netherlands. One of my favorite desserts is stroopwafel. Did I pronounce that correctly? Anybody like stroopwafel? We're very into it here. Okay. Now let me see here. The horror. This is it's great for you to share with me the code. It's much nicer if you can try to host it online or put a little video documentation or something. Windy 10print, windy. I was going to say windy. But this looks much more windy. Look at this, a blog post with documentation and reference boy, do I love this. So this is one thing that I highly encourage anybody who's embarking on a journey of learning to code is don't just make the thing, document your process, tell people how you made it, share that process. It's not just for the good of the world, it's good for you too, to have that to refer back to if you're applying for a job and you can show the way that you think and how you build things, that's going to be a good thing. So I really encourage you guys to do documentation. Totally not how you pronounce it, okay. Fine, I'm gonna really, somebody will help me. Okay, Justin, ooh, look at this. I love this. And this is using, by the way, glitch.me, which is a wonderful new code editor development environment that all runs in the browser made by Fog Creek. I would love to do more with Glitch on this, I was going to say podcast. That's all I do is listen to podcasts. This is not a podcast. I would be terrible at a podcast because I actually am not, I don't make sense with the words things. I just like compensate by waving my arms around a lot, which was kind of, it was touch and go there for a little while with this elbow problem. Ooh, okay, that's wonderful. Oh, I love this. Kind of looking like twigs, wonderful version Mataku. And now that's great. So thank you, everybody. All right. 2 more community things. I got to get to the tutorial stuff. We're at 1:05. I'm moving quickly. Today is International Coffee Day, I think. I used to not drink coffee. For about 20 years, I didn't drink coffee, and then like a few years ago, I started drinking it again. Okay. This was another one, 10 print. And here, did I look at this one already? I did not. Oh, look at this with sliders. Oh, I love that. So I can kind of change the parameters of it. Color, size, what it's doing, maybe line thickness. This is really cool. Wonderful. So I love all these, and pressing a key restarts it. Okay. Wonderful. So now, what are the other community projects I want to talk about? Number 1 is I am amazed. So I was a little worried, like, I love this historical work. It sounds silly to say historical, but this work from the 90s by John Maida. I never know if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, to be honest with you. And which is actually in, looks like it's in San Francisco MoMA. But this post from Golan Levin's course at Carnegie Mellon University is really the only visual documentation that exists that I know of the 12 o'clocks project. And I did a clock coding challenge and said, hey, why don't we try to remake these in P5.js? And me set up a wonderful mechanism for contributing. And this is amazing. I'm going to show this to you right now. I'm going to go to coding train. I'm going to go to community, not 12 o'clocks, and I'm going to click on this link here, and look at this. Huh, is that all of them? No, we still got one. So first of all, we need to look at these and sort of check for accuracy, although wow, how did this one get done? Is this done with like this? I'm wondering, is this done with P5.js or 3.js, or is it actually not a 3D renderer, but just this like illusion? Amazing. But look, clock 12 is still not implemented. So all of you watching, if you want to contribute, first of all, you can always help. This is not meant to be one person per clock. This is meant to be a community collaboration. So maybe you notice something that can be improved or that doesn't match visually the originals. But this is kind of incredible to me. And I just want to thank this generous and creative and talented community. I mean, I really should just... at this point, I guess I just exist to hopefully give you guys some interesting ideas because you're all much better at this than I am, at least in certain terms of being creative and visual design. And so this is really wonderful. So I think if I click on one of these, I'm just highlighting them, so we'll think about this website. And I need to think about a way of, Haider Ali Punjabi in the chat is saying I made 9 and 10. Thank you so much. That 9 and 10 is 12, 11, 10, these are 9 and 10, if I got that right. So I'm going to share this with John Maida probably within the next week since it's almost complete. So please get your contributions in. And I need to think of a way to thank people and, obviously GitHub has a history. So we can see everybody's contributed simply by going here under commits, and I can look and I can see the history of what people have done, and that's one way of thanking people. I can also go to here, I think, just under contributions, and we can see all of these GitHub users who have contributed, but I would like to think of something beyond this that I can thank in terms of credits and that sort of thing. All right, I'm looking at the chat. Everything seems good. One more community project. So you may know there is something happening called Processing Community Day. It is the first time, of course, lots of people who do stuff with creative coding and code and all get together in all sorts of forms, informally, classes, conferences, on the subway, at restaurants, all sorts of things. But this is the first official Processing Foundation organized, sponsored event. It's happening on October 21st at the MIT Media Lab. You can still get a ticket to come to the event. I'm supposedly doing a live coding train. I don't know what that's going to be. I'm hoping they tell me, they being me, I tell myself, because I guess I'm helping to organize it. But Taeyoon Choi is really spearheading this, and he is wonderful, the founder of the School for Poetic Computation, sfpc.io, and I'm hoping I just have to do like 20 minutes. But so I'm going to do this live coding train, and so the idea for that right now is, where do I go here? I guess I'm going to go to github.com coding train, is to make a cloud, make a algorithmic generative cloud design. And so I guess I'll make my own, but before the processing day, I'm asking people to contribute their own cloud design, and I'm actually going to use these cloud designs to be printed on name tags for people at the event. So if you want to contribute, it should just be, you can contribute whatever you want to this, because I'd love to see all sorts of creative ideas for clouds, but to print it on the name tag, it's going to have to be like a thin black outline, and then the names will be nicely handwritten in. All right, so we look here, and we can see, I think every time I click, I just get a new random cloud, and I can actually pick some, and it has who created it here. And so let's look, cartoon cloud, we can see. And thank you to Austin, Coding Train patron, who, for me, I Am So Me, created this site. And Austin did some UI design and visual design for it. Cumulus, that's pretty cool. Thank you, Luke. And Cloud from Kazakhstan, that's really nice. Thank you to Ilyas. So I encourage you, all the way up until around probably the 1st of October, which is coming up soon. What's today's date? Oh, my watch. I think the battery. Oh, no, it came back alive. Oh, that's soon. So for the next week, another week to take cloud submissions. So thank you, everybody. All right. I'm going to pause for a second here and see, did I miss anything? Any questions about these community projects, processing day, before I get started with ES6 classes? Tankas, did I miss something? Did you submit something? It's very hard. You try following a live YouTube chat and live streaming and a Slack chat. Simon is pointing out that I'm 22 minutes in, which is pretty good if I actually start doing some tutorial and coding. So actually, I should get myself organized while I'm seeing if there are questions. One thing that's always helpful for me, those of you who are in the Slack group who are patrons, patreon.com/codingtrain, if you notice a comment in the YouTube chat that's something that I should address or share, or is like a correction that's useful, if you can copy paste it in with the person's name, because it's easier for me to follow that. And Austin is saying, I made it so you can change the background color on the community clouds now too. Wonderful. Oh, just a video suggestion challenge. Okay. And Ilyas is saying my cloud is randomly generated every time. And yes, look at that. That's really what I'm looking for in a way, is like your cloud it's an idea for a design of a cloud, but it comes out differently. So it's procedural design or conditional design. It's a design informed by an algorithm that varies. There's a set of rules that define what it means to be a cloud, but it varies. Okay, so hello to Blodegan. And Ankit is saying I forgot neural networks. I did not forget. Trust me, nobody is letting me forget. I did forget Chrome extensions, though. That was going to happen today. All right, so. If anybody wants to help send me sound effects, make sound effects, music I can play without getting copyright notices, please. Please, I'm available to improve. Okay. So let's look here. If you can bear with me for a second, I'm going to look at so what did I do in this video? Yeah.
Come here today to bid farewell to someone.
Okay, no, don't watch the ad.
Okay, so this video I'm kind of sneaking in.
I don't. Can you? You probably can't hear this, can you?
So I'm particularly excited about this one. I think this is going to change your full along. This is going to majorly change the way you can approach building some
Okay.
so let's take a look at the scenario.
All right, I'm thinking here. Okay, so where I left off is this idea of like a bubble. Okay. Function. So this is OOP beginnings. So I need this code maybe.
Too much exposition here, but this almost definitely needs many follow-ups. But let's see how far I get.
Okay. Ooh,
See what happens
I could get 3 months of YouTube Red for free. Should I do that?
at some point.
Okay. Yeah, actually I should do that because then when I play stuff, the ads won't play. Yeah. Okay, hold on. Maybe I won't sign up for that right now. I won't sign up for that right now during the live stream. Okay. Okay, so I think I have a sense of what I need to do. All right, so what's the chance that there's some code on this computer already called OOP beginnings? There is. How lucky for me. Okay, now, and that is in other documents, P5JS videos, OOP beginnings. So let me grab that. Let me put that on the desktop in a folder called OOP. And actually, what I want to do here is, and let me close this. Austin, who I'm mentioning over and over again now, has turned me on to something called iTerm, which I haven't had a chance to look at yet. But I'm going to try using maybe a different terminal application and do a little tutorial about it. This computer went off. Okay. So now I need to go to desktop. And I want to generate a project called OOP1. And now I'm going to open up Atom. And I'm going to run a server. So I'm getting set up here. This is when I'm supposed to play my waiting music. And I'm going to get this. What? Oh, this is already like the changed version. That's funny. So what's funny is what I have here is the code from the end of that video. So it kind of, but I think I know basically. I don't like this way of doing it at all. And I'm going to just bear with me here for a second, everybody. And don't go full screen on me.
I'm particularly excited about this one. I think this is
That would work much better if this bubble would move a little bit more. Oh, did you guys want me to do some coding and stuff? Okay, sorry, I got confused. I thought that's what you wanted to watch was me and my desire to be an avant-garde performance artist. Okay. People in the chat are not happy. All right. Oh. Oh. Okay, so one of the things that if you haven't watched these videos before that I do, is this is a live stream, and then portions of the live stream get edited into tutorial videos that make it into various playlists. There will be a slight delay on the edited videos this week due to some scheduling stuff. So one thing I'm definitely going to try to make sure I do is have good, and Mathieu helps me is amazing at helping me do this, make sure that I have like links to the time codes of the actual tutorial portions. And I'm going to try, if I can, to not do the thing that I stop and start all the time, to make it a little bit more watchable. Not that I'm really interested in making this watchable. Oh, my timing is so off. Okay. Ow, I think I hurt myself. I think I might have pulled a muscle in my neck. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is make a quick video that's going to go in between. It's going to go, I lost the YouTube playlist, but it's going to go in between the last functions video and the first objects video. And maybe someday this video will be deleted, but it will just like tell people that these are stitched. Let me just do it. Hello, this is not actually a tutorial video. You could just skip to the next one if you want the actual tutorial content. But if you happen to be watching this as a playlist because you're learning to program in JavaScript with P5JS for the first time, I just want to give you a little warning. All the videos you've been watching before this video were made as of right this moment a couple years ago. I am now programming in JavaScript with a slightly different style. It's a bit more modern style. It's part of ES6. What's ES6? You could go watch a different video where I talk about that I'll link to in this video's description, but where I use something called classes to make objects. So the videos that are coming next, the older ones are deprecated. They'll be off in some other playlist somewhere that you could go and find. But the videos that are coming next, I will look like I do now, which is like with more gray hair. I have a scar on my elbow that I didn't have before. But those videos will not assume any prior knowledge. They will assume that you are arriving here just at the moment where you just learned about the basics of functions and you are about to learn object-oriented programming. So if that is what you would like to do, please stay with me and just watch as this video transitions to the next one, probably with an ad on it. Sorry about that, sorry. Okay, see you in the next video, maybe. All right. I need to flash the verb. Don't replace and just make a new playlist. Yeah, Simon, you're right. That is a good point. I'm definitely not going to replace. I just have to. What I want though is for people, if they're first finding the videos, to find these. But I'm not going to delete anything, and I'll have an older version of the playlist as well. So anyway, Mathieu and I will figure out an appropriate way to do that. And of course, I'm happy to have suggestions. Oh, I forgot that this was behind me the whole time. Oh, and I forgot to mention that I was going to do another editor. Okay, hold on. Maybe this can be spliced in. Also, I should mention that, maybe you could just splice this in the middle somewhere, Mathieu. Okay. Also, I should mention that in these videos, I'm using a slightly different editor. At this point, I'm kind of hoping that maybe you already have an editor. Maybe I had a different tutorial that showed you an editor to use. So you could. This is the Atom editor. You can use it. But I'm going to focus on the code in these videos and not the editor. But just if you're wondering why it changed, that's why I'm using something different in these videos. All right. Yes. Greg says, I suspect the dancing is only for the GIFs. That is correct. That is my sole mission in life, ultimately. Okay, we've got to make this happen. I need to do my first tutorial, but this is going to be worth it. Hold on. Just give me a second here. You can still hear me, I think, right? Oh, it's going to be off, though. Create new, overhead. I really shouldn't be doing this. Hope you can actually hear me. It's going to be this first one, and it's going to be 1080i 5994. Then I'm going to hit OK, and then I have to somehow find the button to press up here. Oh. Did it come on? No, that didn't work. All right, I'll look for that. I was trying to, just for goofiness, turn on this overhead camera. Oh well. Okay, edit the bit about the editor. Good point, good point. I think, by the way, is it 115? Oh, it's 120. Okay, here we go. So I have to figure out how to get started here. All right, so I have to really remember that I'm making a video for people who have who are in their like 5th week maybe of taking a course about programming, and they've never done object-oriented programming before, and they have just learned about what functions are. Okay. Okay. Here we go. Water. It is always important on the coding train to stay hydrated because, as you know, Coding Train is brought to you by water. It's liquid, and you can drink it. Okay. Oh, one thing I need to make sure I have is a marker, and that hey, what happened to my shortcut keys for the whiteboard and stuff? There we go. Let's just see. Oh, whoa, whoa! I'm very big. Weird. What's going on here? Maybe I need to zoom out a little bit. Maybe that's better, actually. Maybe this is actually better. Is this better? Maybe you can actually see that better. Maybe I'll leave it. I'm going to go check and see if the focus is fine. Looks good. Okay, I'm going to leave it. All right. I knew that was going to happen, so that's why I was waiting for the camera to go off, and now I can start. Do you know, I'm like afraid to do this tutorial, and so that's why. But I just have to get over my fear. Okay. Oh, and why does my computer, now that I look at the Slack chat, keeps going to sleep? One of these was a good marker. Yeah, I don't think it was this one. Who knows? I think it was this one. Hello, this is a very exciting moment for me. I don't know if this is an exciting moment for you. This is the video where I am going to talk about object-oriented programming in JavaScript using something called classes for the very first time ever in any of my videos. So this video is part of a playlist, and if you're watching that playlist, what you just learned about is functions. And you might have done something where you first use functions to reorganize your code, and you said, okay, I have some code which draws a circle, and I have some code which moves a circle. So I'm changing some XY variables and drawing an ellipse at some XY variables. And then I put those into these own functions, call them display, call them move, and I can call them and draw. So I've organized my code. And I even have this thing, I kind of have this thing called an object. It's a JavaScript literal object, meaning I'm saying I literally want an object with an X and a Y. So I can see those up there. And so the thing is, I got distracted for a second. The thing is, this was a nice way to learn about how to declare and define your own functions, and there are reasons why you might want to do that, and you're going to see those in many future videos, just sort of standalone functions that exist unto themselves. And in fact, there is a style of programming called functional programming, which JavaScript is well suited for, because functions are kind of like the core building block of JavaScript. But I am going to take a different direction here, because in particular, if what I want to do is program graphics, simulations, animations, things moving around the screen, one way to do that is to think about this circle moving around as an object. Now I'm already thinking about it as an object. It's a bubble. It's got an X and a Y. It has data. But I want to think about it as having functionality. It can move. It can be displayed. I want to say things like, in addition, bubble.move, bubble.display. This is ultimately how I want to write my code. And I'm kind of wondering why display there is being syntax highlighted. I think it's probably like a keyword or something in JavaScript somewhere else. I'm going to just change that to show. What I want to do is I want to write code where where I create these objects and I issue commands on them. And the reason why I want to do that is because, well, ultimately, I changed the code and that won't run again. This is not going well. I said I wouldn't restart recording, so I can't. You're just going to have to keep watching this. What I want to do is change, at least just give me a second here to this will be one small little edit point. What I want to do is if I can think about this thing moving around on the screen as an object, then I can maybe make a second bubble and a third bubble. So I have to think conceptually about what I'm doing. So I think what's going to be helpful actually is if I come over here, hello to you too, and talk about this with the whiteboard. So there's a couple of different principles. So I talked about with functions that there's some principles behind why you might use functions. You can make your code modular, or you can make your code reusable. This is also true of object-oriented programming. But one of the first key principles of object-oriented programming is this idea of encapsulation. I want to encapsulate everything that it is to be a certain thing inside of an object. What does it mean to be a bubble? What is there? What do bubbles have? What properties do they have? What things do they do throughout their life? I want to encapsulate all of that into something. And the idea of using something called a class in JavaScript, and we can think of a class, another way to think of it is the word template, I think, is appropriate, or the word blueprint is also appropriate. The class, which is a new block of code that I'm going to ask you to write if you choose to follow these tutorials, is this idea of encapsulate. Everything that goes in between the open curly bracket and the closed curly bracket is everything that it means to be a bubble. What does it mean? We're going to find out. What does it mean to be a bubble? All of that will go in there so that in my main program, which has setup and draw, I don't have to write the code for the bubble. I can just do things to create bubbles. I could say things like bubble equals new, and I think I'm going to go off the whiteboard here, so I'm going to write this down here, new bubble. So there's a new keyword, which ironically is new. New is a keyword that means to create an object. We're going to see what that actually really refers to in a second. And then, as my animation continues throughout the draw loop, I can say things like bubble.float or .pop or .move or whatever commands. These are functions that are somehow part of the object. Objects, the idea of encapsulation is to encapsulate the idea of data and functionality into an object. So, for example, I had this weird little JavaScript literal object. This is an object that has data in it. It has an X value and a Y value. And actually, I mean, if I really wanted to, I could do this. This is something you'll see. I probably shouldn't show this to you. I don't really do this that often, but it's totally reasonable. I can put a function in there. Ooh, let's put that away. Let's put that away. Put that away. This is the thing. Welcome to your life. There are 15 different ways to do everything in JavaScript, and also this video will be out of date by the time you watch it because there'll be a different way that people are doing now. But I'm just trying to keep with the times, and I think classes are a nice way. They're a way that I am now choosing to create objects in JavaScript. So let me come back over here. A class is the idea of the template. This is the template. You can think of this, this is a bit of a, this is not my invention here, but one way of thinking about this is the class is the cookie cutter. The object itself, this is the object, also often referred to as an instance. This is the thing itself. This is the template. This describes, there is no bubble here. This just describes what does it mean to be a bubble. This is the actual bubble. I make a new bubble based on what it means to be a bubble. Am I saying the same thing over and over again? I am, but I'm hoping this helps make this make sense to you. So object instance, object template, cookie cutter is like the thing you use to make the actual cookies. So this is the cookie, and this is the cookie cutter. So now that that hopefully makes some sense to you, the next point of discussion is what goes inside the class. How do we write the class? I'm going to pause for a second. Oh, and let's see. So I'm not used to, I wrote encapsulation up here that you can't see. Let me just zoom out a tiny bit. Don't change the, which is the focus, which is the zoom? Oops. That's a zoom. Okay, let me just zoom out a tiny bit. So that way at least, oh, I didn't realize so much of this you couldn't see. So what I'm going to do here is, if Mathieu, for any reason you want to like fade in like when I was writing so people can actually see, then fade back to where you can't see, we could try to do that. People are, so you guys have been telling me all the time, you've been yelling at the screen. I think it's going to be fine, right? Oh. Wait. Well, okay, so how bad was that? Hold on. Like, was that terrible? Is this workable? Do I need to redo this? I don't think I need to redo this all. Really bad. Oh, pretty bad. What was so bad? Retake time. Not so bad. Bad enough. Well, I don't understand. Was it because wasn't it just this stuff that's cut off? And can't I like I could superimpose that in post-production? Oh, it's out of focus? It was. All right. So much for my whole like this live stream is going to stand alone. People are going to be able to watch this without a lot like just by looking at the time codes. It's going to be fine. Yeah, okay. You could not see the top things like class. So I can fix that. Everybody's giving their own opinion. I'm going to... Okay, I think that Matt is a genius, and he's going to come up with some way of when I make an edited version of this tutorial, of when I wrote something that you couldn't see, of like, just like putting it on top. Okay. All right. All right. Okay, wrong camera. Sorry. Oh, no. Okay, I'm going to keep going. So, so now I even forgot what I was thinking about. There's a big glare on the board. Yeah, I know that's not something I can do too much about. Oh, you can't see which light is the glare coming from. Yeah, it's this one. All right. There, that fixed the glare. All right. Okay, continue. Thank you for pointing that out. That helps a little bit, and I'm still viewable here. Okay, all right. I don't think that Mathieu is unfortunately able to watch at this time, so I don't think that he's here. But I will, I'm going to keep going, and if I have to, I'll redo that first part. Okay. Or even just like parts of it. All right. So let me think. I guess that's, I don't know how long, if anybody has a guess, how long was that? About? Because what I want to do, I think, let me see, what are those videos? What were the videos I made before? Before I did, oh my goodness. I just put functions inside of, so I just need to do this myself. Okay. I did this in like a crazy weird way. All right. Okay. All right. Yeah, so actually this is really important, and I'm going to do this now so I don't have this problem again. I'm going to get a little tape, or actually I'm not going to use tape. I will just use a blue marker, a pink marker that I have here. Whoops. And this is about the top. This is about the right. I mean, I don't usually come over here. This is here. And then the bottom is about like here. So you probably can't see any of those marks. I guess you can kind of see this mark. Make that a little bit higher. And oh, you can see this mark over here. So let me do it about here. You can still see that, but whatever, it's fine. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, so first let me just apologize. I had a little technical glitch where I drew stuff out of your viewpoint in the previous video. I'm hoping that by the time you're watching this, I figured out some nice magic to make it make sense, or redid this video and you're not even watching this because I don't have to say this, but we'll see. But I'm going to go on, and what I want to do in this video is now talk about, we really need to hopefully that the first video helped you understand the concept behind object-oriented programming in a very simple and basic way. And now what I need to do is look at the actual syntax. How do I write the class? How do I make object instances? And how do I use them? So I guess I should be over here. So what is the syntax of writing the actual class? What is the syntax of making actual object instances? Okay, where should we start? So I keep saying that, I said before there was this new keyword called new. And what new does is it creates an object instance. It says, hey, make a new instance of an object that's defined inside of a class called bubble. So I know I want to make a bubble, which is something I made up. This is a made up name for a class. But what actually happens when I call a function, when I say something like, draw a robot, I look for a function called draw a robot that draws the robot. This new keyword actually says execute a function, but it's a special kind of function. It's a function to create an object, or actually maybe let me use a different word, construct. It's a function to construct an object. And so the first thing that I need to write, and I need to write this, I mean, it might work without it, but I really need to write this in every class that I make, is constructor. So I actually declare a function called constructor. It is written just like, I don't have to say function. By definition, it is a function. So it's just like any old function definition. It's a function definition inside the class. And in here, this is kind of like the object's setup. So we think of setup and draw in our code, like in P5. Setup is where I initialize everything. Draw is where I animate stuff and loop over and over again. The constructor is like the object's setup. So I'm defining again, what does it mean to be a bubble? Now I'm getting more specific. What does it mean to be the first moments when the bubble is formed? That first baby bubble, it comes out of the bubble making machine. And what happens? So in this case, I'm just going to say x equals 100, y equals 100. So this isn't correct yet, so don't yell at me if you know about how this works. I need to add something to this, but this is the idea. I want to declare, remember, objects are a collection of data and functionality. So this is where I say, this is all the data that has to do with this particular bubble. This particular bubble has an x and a y. Now here's the thing. Nowhere in here did I declare var x or let x, depending on which video. It's JavaScript, by the way, has two different ways of declaring variables, and I'm kind of using let now, but I probably used var in a previous video. Oh, I hate that this is happening, but it's happening. But I didn't actually declare the variable. So, and what's weird here is that I don't actually declare it in the way that I previously had. So something that happens here when I say new bubble is there's a new object instance. And I need to actually say, this is a variable that I want to attach. This is a variable that is a property of that object. And so the way that I do this, I'm awkwardly saying this because the thing that I'm going to write here is actually this. This.x, this.y. This is a keyword in JavaScript that can mean a lot of different things, and over time in future videos I will use it for a variety of different purposes. But for right now, this keyword is a reference to the current object instance. It doesn't exist, right? This is a template. So I'm saying, in theory, if I were to ever use this template to make an actual instance of a bubble, that instance that's being made, I'll just call this. Out here, the instance that's being made has a variable name called bubble. I declared it let bubble. Right, I said let bubble. I might have said var, but I'm saying let now. Let bubble. Bubble is a new bubble. That's the object instance. That's the real object instance. This is the theoretical object instance. And then when I say new bubble, this code actually happens. That actual bubble is created. This and bubble point to the same thing. But the nice thing is I can use this template for any object I create because this is a generic term to refer to whatever it is I happen to be making at the moment. So that's the idea. So let's start writing this code. And just, let's put this in. This dot. You know what I'm talking about, right? This dot is the bane of your existence now. Welcome to your life. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of this. I just have this idea, right, of a bubble. And I'm going to change it to say let. And I'm going to say bubble equals new bubble. We're going to comment out everything in draw because I don't have anything yet. I don't even want to. I'm going to comment all this out because maybe I'll use it later. But the idea now is that I want to write the class. Now, where I define the class can kind of be anywhere, and I might show you a way of organizing stuff into different files at some point. But I'm going to write class bubble, open curly bracket, close curly bracket. Now I'm going to create that constructor like this, and I'm going to say this.x equals, 200, this.y equals 150. And I'm just going to say print line x bubble.x bubble.y. And it's not print ln anymore in P5, it's just print, which is the same as console.log, but that's a bit of an aside. So now I'm going to run this, and I'm going to see, look at that, 200, 150. And actually, one thing I can do, just to I can actually, in this interactive console that I'm using in Chrome, I can actually just type bubble and look and see, look, now I have an object. It's of type bubble, and it has two properties, x and y. So that's what we've done. We have made a constructor. In the bubble object, we can create new object instances, and there they are. Okay, timeout or end of video, I'm not sure. So hold on. Hopefully I'm doing okay here. All right. Oh, I'm in the wrong frame. Okay, I'm thinking. I think, I'm kind of enjoying these as short videos. So I think I'm gonna, the next video will just be adding this video is just about the constructor. And then the next video, I should probably keep going. It's so tricky to figure out where videos should stop and start. I guess certainly the next step is to write the functions inside of the class. And right, so Paver in the chat is making a really good point. Why would you write the constructor like this to hard code the values of x and y? And to be honest, most cases you wouldn't, and this is something that I'm going to have to get to. Do I have time? I still have an hour today, so I think I could get to the part where I'm going to add constructor arguments. I think this can be in one video. So all this talking that I'm doing right now is an editing point, and I'm going to have to come to the next point, which is adding the functionality. Okay. Yeah, Austin's making a good point. Aren't constructor variables typically prefaced with an underscore? It's not necessarily, but it's a popular convention. Yeah, there are conventions of making certain instance variables public versus private and underscore. This is really, my point of view in teaching this stuff is to not, that's an important point, and it's a perfectly valid and interesting discussion for us to have, but I want these videos to be for, potentially even the 8th or 9th grader who is learning to program in JavaScript for the first time and just wants to make some stuff, and I think that level of detail is unnecessary at this point, though interesting. And yes, setters and getters and extends. I will get to all of that, not in these intro videos. This is really just about the principles of object-oriented and the basics. Okay. Here we go. Are these live streams basically never for the people that are watching them? Correct. I used to not do them as live streams. I would just make all the videos and release them. And for some reason, people seem to enjoy, not necessarily the, but if you can just tune this stuff out and just come back for the edited videos. This is my process. It is my process. It involves, oh, there's nothing there. It involves.
As always, I always forget the this.dot, 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 this.dot. I'm going to do this.dot,
This sometimes.
this.dot, this.dot, this.dot. I'm going to do this.dot, this.dot, I'm going to do this.dot, this.dot.
All right. All right. So I don't know what's. So the next step now is we can't actually do anything. The goal here is I want to write nice, elegant, easy to read code where I say things like, now I want this bubble to move. Now I want this bubble to show. And ultimately, I'm going to do things like let bubble 1, let bubble 2. And again, I know some of you might have just watched the previous video where I used var. Someday, when I'm saying this, it won't matter, and the aliens will have figured it out to like dub over my voice in a way that makes all this make sense. But for now, I'm using let. I'm using let. So I want to be able to make multiple objects. We're going to look at this thing called an array in future videos. But we haven't gotten all the way through, right? The only thing I've put inside of this class is the constructor, and I've initialized and I've what's the word I'm looking for? Defined, attached. I've specified the data for this particular bubble. What it is to be a bubble is to have an x and a y. So now what I need to do is add the functionality. If I know I want to say at some point bubble.move, what I want to say here is move. So this is how I declare a function, a piece of functionality inside the bubble class. This is what it means for a bubble to move. Notice I don't have to say function here. So classes, the functions that are part of the bubble template, are by definition functions. I don't have to say functions. And then what do I want for the bubble to move? I want to change its x and its y. So can I just say x equals x plus something to change its x? No, say it with me. This dot, this dot, this dot. It's so hard to remember. But inside of the template, inside of the class, I'm referring to the variables, the data that's part of a bubble object. I need to refer to it as this.x and this.x. So let's go now add that to our program. So I'm going to add a function called move. And I'm just going to do, and by the way, what do I want to do in this? I want to do exactly what I did in the previous example. And I'm just going to take this and put it up here. The difference is, and weirdly, I'm going to do something, this is horrible. I should not, let's do show at the same time. Why not? I don't have to do them one at a time. I'm feeling confident. I'm going to do this. And then I'm going to take all of this code from that show function, and I'm going to put it up here inside this show function. And then I'm going to delete this stuff down here. And now I have everything. Oops, I need to uncomment it. And I have everything for my class. Can I fit it all in one screen? Yes, again, perfect. Look at this. So this is wrong. Avert your eyes. Don't implant this into your brain just yet. But this is weirdly going to work. So we should be done in a way, right? I made this bubble class. I have a bubble object. It sort of worked by accident. It worked because I have this global variable called bubble, and it's the only bubble in the world. But the template, the blueprint, should not refer to a specific bubble. This won't work as soon as I try to add a second object. This bubble, this template needs to use this dot. So all of the x and the y needs to refer to bubble.x, bubble.y. Now, here it is. Take this, implant it into your brain. This is, I should mention, there are lots of other features of things I could do in here. There's these things called getters and senders, and there's extends. I'm going to get to that eventually, or maybe never, because this is a good start. The basic idea is define the template, the class, define a constructor which specifies how that object is initialized, and then add whatever functionality you want, and then the world is your oyster to make bubble 1, bubble 2, bubble 1, bubble 2, bubble 1, move, show, bubble 2, move, show. So look at that. There are now 2 on the screen, and I didn't have to change anything about the class. The class is a generic template. It knows nothing about where it might be used or how it might be applied. It's just the template. So this is a way of defining objects, and it's going to, this is no good because this works for 2, but eventually I'm going to want to have 100, and I'm going to get to that in a future video. And there's some other missing pieces here, and that'll be in the next video. But for now, if you're watching this, here's an exercise to do for yourself. Find a sketch you made that had some thing in it. Get kind of a simple thing, a thing moving around the screen. Maybe you didn't use objects in it at all. Try to encapsulate everything that has to do with that object into a class. What are the properties that are part of that? If you're making a rainbow, the properties are the colors, potentially. I don't know. Or its position on the screen. What's its functionality? It can appear, it could disappear, it can shine and glow, whatever it does. Make those functions. Try to create one object instance and operate it, and then see if you can create a second object instance. Now you might have a problem where both of your objects, you make 2, but they do exactly the same thing. So you can't actually see that there are 2. And that's the thing that I want to address in the next video. This idea of kind of hard coding these values so that every single bubble always starts at the same place is somewhat problematic. And I'm going to address that with something called arguments or parameters to the constructor. And so that's what I'll do in the next video. Make your objects, share them with me, and I'll see you in a future video, unless I'm going to still be here in a second because I might have gotten something wrong and I have to correct it. So now I'm going to look, did I miss anything super important or get something really wrong there? I'm just looking at the chat. Lambda keyword, blah, blah, blah. That was a good take, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you know what's weird about this is, and why I'm kind of taking this approach is for me, coming from a Java and C++ background, this is like, oh, thank you for the class. It's just like it all makes sense to me again, whereas that whole constructor function and prototype stuff is like, what is this? But I suppose if you kind of got used to that, or if you approach programming with more of a functional style, maybe this is harder or more confusing. But for me, this is helping me. Okay, so I'm getting some feedback that was fine. Okay, apparently nobody in the chat is telling me that I did anything horribly wrong in this video tutorial. Maybe I'll hear from you in the comments, but I will see you in the next video where I talk about constructor arguments. Shouldn't X and Y be declared? That actually is a good question. Maybe I can address this. So let me see if I can explain this. K weak minus I. So this is the weird thing about JavaScript. No. Because what actually was declared is the reference, the memory. I mean, I think this doesn't need to go in a video tutorial. This is like supplemental, but if I understand the question, if I understand the answer correctly, is when I'm saying new bubble, I suddenly allocate memory for an object. And this variable, or this keyword, is pointing, a variable being a pointer to somewhere in the computer's memory, to the data and stuff, all that stuff for that particular object. So I don't have to specifically say let. I'm not allocating new. I am kind of, but the way the memory management works is more complicated than I'm prepared to really. But the idea here is what I want to do is I want to attach an X and a Y here. And so the attachment of it is through the reference dot the thing. And so if I'm out here, I mean, I could have easily just said bubble equals new bubble, not put this here, and said bubble.x equals something. And now that bubble has an X. But if it's part of the class, it's kind of always going to be part of any bubble. So this is the thing. JavaScript's going to let you do it any which way you want. But this is one particular style. And if we were in Java or C++ or processing, it would just there would be the way to do it. And that's the only way to do it. Which for people like me is like, oh, Dad, thank you. This is so much more comfortable. I can't take the fact that I look on the internet and I see 50 different ways of doing the same thing. All right. Yes, so me, I am, so me also says, I think the idea is that you aren't adding them to the local scope, so you don't need a let or var. And that's also a good way of describing it. All right, how am I on time? 2 o'clock. I still have 45 minutes. Okay. So. All right, so here's the thing. Okay, I think I'm ready for the next. Right, that's another good point. Austin is making the point, if I went back to the old code, which is over here, that when you declare an object this way, you don't say let x here. It's just these are the properties. The thing that I'm declaring is bubble. All right. Okay, now the discussion is going on. It's really interesting. I just want to read the discussion to you, but I'm not going to. Okay. I want to see if I can at 2:30 stop and try to do a simple coding challenge for this week, because I really like that. I'm not going to really have one with these object tutorials, and I think maybe I'll just do simple recursion. And I brought, so somebody yell at me at 2:30 to try to do that simple coding challenge, and I can wave this book, The Fractal Geometry of Nature by Benoit Mandelbrot, around. All right. Okay, I got to keep going. So let me close these out. Save? I don't know. Let me make sure this is still working. Okay. And I can make this a little bigger too. So this video for Matt, who will be watching this later, is about constructor arguments. That's kind of the other, I don't know. We'll figure out what to title these later. Arendan is asking why use classes anyway, and so let me try to come back to that. But yeah, but people are there's a lot of other features that I haven't shown you yet that are in theory quite good for object-oriented programming. Okay. All right. Hello. Okay, so here's the thing. Hopefully by now you kind of have a sense of the principle of encapsulation and the idea of making a template to create objects. Item number one. Item number two is maybe you have a sense of what the syntax for writing a class is, that template. Constructor, initializing some variables that are attached to that object, writing some functions that are the functionality of that object. The reason why you might want to do this is because one reason why is just to kind of organize your code. Ultimately, I could make this exact sketch without all this class and constructor and all that. I just could make some variables. But one of the nice things about this is I have two things on the screen. I don't have two x's and two y's. I just have two bubble objects. Because imagine if these things have a speed and an x speed and a y speed and a color and a radius. I don't want to have 15 sets of variables for everything I have to make. I want one set of 15 to apply to a bunch of things. But one of the things that I've done here that's not really scalable or sustainable in a way that's going to be as useful is, what if I want these, but right now they do move independently of each other, which is nice, but they always start at the same spot. Now I could change their starting location to be random, but what if I want to specify where they should start or specify a size? So one of the ways to do that is I often want to say, what I would like to do is not just make a bubble, but I would like to make a purple bubble, or a blue bubble, or I would like to make a fast bubble, or a large bubble, or a small bubble. I want to be able to modify the way that I create an object. And the way that I do that is by adding stuff inside here. I add arguments to the constructor. New bubble with a radius of 50 and an xy of 70, so let me do it the other way. Let's imagine that what I want one bubble to be at 200, 200, and I want it to have a radius of 40. And I want the other bubble to be at 400, 200, and I want it to have a radius of 20. Now, one of the weird things about JavaScript is, again, it just wants to work. So I could add that, and I could run this code, and I don't know, it still works, it does exactly the same thing. So those numbers go nowhere. But the idea is just like if you watch my video about passing arguments to a function, I can pass arguments to a constructor. And if I do that, what I want is for the constructor to receive those arguments. So if I'm giving it 3 arguments, 200, 240, I need to define the constructor with 3 parameters. I think I'm getting this right. These are the arguments, the values, the things that are passed in. These are the parameters, the variables that go inside the actual definition of the function, in this case the constructor. So I'm going to add an x, a y, and an r. So I'm going to say this.x equals x, this.y equals y, and you know what? I'm going to create a new variable called r, this.r equals r, and then in draw, I'm going to actually say, oh, I almost just typed r times 2, almost just typed r times 2, I need to say this dot. And actually in P5, with the ellipse function, if you want the width, the diameter along the width and the height to be the same, I don't only need one value. So now what I should do, right, if I run this, we can see I should be making 2 bubbles with different starting locations and a different radius. So look, those started at the right location. The size looks the same. What did I get wrong here? Missing semicolon, 40, 20. List.r times 2. Hey, they really should be different, right? Oh, they are. I don't know. I just probably forgot to save. Hold on. Pause. I have to sneeze. Excuse me. I'm going to mute myself for a second. Honk. Okay. So I'm very, yes, and so, all right, so this is the part that I need to, and I agree with Miyamsumi is saying prototypical inheritance is a headache. And so that's why, like, this is less, for me, using classes instead of the other way of doing this in JavaScript is less of a headache. That's entirely the reason. Okay, so I did just blow my nose, but I feel like I have to sneeze again. Maybe a cold is coming on. I don't even know where I put my tissues. They're over here. I feel bad for everybody who's watching this. And is it 2:30 yet? Nope. Okay. So now I remember what I want to say. Okay. So you might be looking at this and thinking, oh God, this is like the most awful thing I've ever seen. You named those variables x the same as the this.x. And actually, if you look at some of my examples in previous programming environments that I've used, I often will do something called this temp x, temp y. This is one of the most confusing aspects of programming with classes and creating objects. And then this would have to be temp x, right? That would have to be temp y and temp r. Is that these variables inside the constructor, they're temporary local variables just for the sole purpose of receiving the value and quickly passing it to the variable that counts. So this.x is the variable that counts. It's actually the thing that I'm going to use to keep track of where the object is and draw it and move it, but I can't access it directly from up here. I mean, there are ways that I could, but they would be weird and they wouldn't necessarily make any more sense. So I want this 200 to go into this.x. I need something to temporarily receive it, like temp.x, and then quickly pass it to x. So, but maybe I have a bad habit, but I actually just like to name these the same name because I know that which one's which by whether there's a this dot or not. But you will see that conventions like this, name them with an underscore or an underscore after or with a temporary, you can come up with your own style, but it's important to realize that these are all just things that I've made up, like unicorn, fluffy, rainbow. And this code, which, in many ways has its advantages, unicorn, I'm going to just play this whole thing out, fluffy, rainbow, just to prove the point here, this works as well. The same exact result. The question is, what kind of variable naming convention makes sense to your brain? And being consistent kind of helps. And you can follow other people's conventions and styles, but I would say there are no real rules here. And if you want to name your variables unicorn, fluffy, rainbow, pink, fluffy unicorns whatever it is, I got it wrong. But it's fluffy unicorns, not fluffy rainbows. But you should make a somebody make a fluffy rainbow P5JS sketch. That's going to be awesome. Share it with me. Okay, so I got a little off track there. But the point of it is, whatever I put in here, if I say bubble 200, it gets sent all the way to the constructor definition. Some variable, it's like saying let x equal, it's like I'm initializing x with this value 200. It goes in here, and this just, if I have this here, exists solely to set this value so that I can use it later. So that's the real purpose of these temp constructor parameters, to receive arguments and pass them to variables. Of course, you can use them in all sorts of other ways. You don't have to follow this exact design pattern, but it is kind of a typical standard one. So if you're watching this video, what I would suggest to you is see what else you can add to this. Can you add a color? What's the difference between making the color random for every bubble versus initializing each bubble with a color? What other properties can you add to this? Play around. Can you add another function? Like, can you add a function called like edges that do something when the bubble reaches the edges? Is this even really a bubble? What does it mean to be a bubble? If we answer that question, I don't think so. So try to add your own constructor arguments, add additional constructor arguments, and see what questions you have, and let me know. Thanks very much for watching. All right. Yeah. I'm taking a break now, looking at the chat. Did I actually kind of finish object-oriented programming? I mean, there's plenty more to it. You know what? This wasn't actually a good reference, this, because I did this so weirdly, I feel like, when I made these video tutorials in JavaScript. And it's kind of like this. Oh, so yeah, so the next thing is really the array stuff. I don't necessarily feel like getting into that today. So I'm curious, what did I include? The other relevant playlist here, which is actually probably more, is the learning processing one. And if I go to object-oriented programming, so this is from.
Where it's at. You can do almost anything with it.
This is from.
You should take.
Even longer ago. Like, I have like no gray hair in this. I'm wearing different glasses. I mostly look the same though. Anyway, I look much stronger. I'm like the Rock in this picture. And right now I'm just like spindly man. Okay. I'm not serious. Okay. So defining a class, part 1, part 2, constructor, arguments, more on objects, pass by value, pass by reference. What's in more on objects? What did I do in this video? Covers objects as data for other objects, overloading, and objects communicating with other objects. Okay. So I think, can JavaScript do overloading? It can. I kind of feel like it's 2:10. It's weirdly like, how am I doing this so fast? I'm always running out of time. I'm like, it feels something's a little off that I'm not running out of time. What I'm looking at this, don't forget kittens, yeah. So I'm trying to think. So this overloading thing is, let me go back here. I don't want to publish the code with this. So what's interesting, and maybe I guess I could do a video about this right now. Why not? So the things that I need to do are objects, talking more about let me make a list. And I would be curious to hear feedback, especially in the Slack group, about what might follow next. So one thing is objects like intersect other objects. I mean, talking to other, like objects, communication between objects. So writing a function where you pass one object to another. Another is this idea of quote unquote overloading objects as data for other objects. That's one. Inheritance is obviously another. Getters and setters. I don't know that I ever want to talk about that. Getters and setters, this is kind of like public versus private. Public versus private. and inheritance and polymorphism. So I definitely want to do inheritance at some point. I definitely want to do objects talking to other objects. And overload, all this stuff would be useful at some point. So the question is, today my goal was to get through this introductory stuff, which I actually feel pretty happy about that I got through, even though I botched the first video. Hopefully it can be corrected. But I could do one more before. I'm going to do a recursion coding challenge. I could also do but I need to teach arrays before I do a particle system coding challenge. I don't need to teach them because I can just do that. And then, because I'm going to do the arrays eventually. Wait. Do these classes have the gotcha that they have to come higher in the code than the code that calls them? Not really. As long as the whole page is loaded before you try to use any of it, if those classes have been defined somewhere, you'll be fine. Do a straw poll. I don't know why. I'm not really feeling like doing the straw poll today. I think I should leave this and come back to this stuff. Can somebody write this out for me in a list and tweet it at me or something, or I'll save it for later? I think that I want a little bit of quit while I'm ahead today. Since so many people are asking about the overloading, I don't know if I'll eventually just make a video about this, but because I need to think about, this is a little bit not so friendly towards beginners, but I don't know though, people are going to see this. Maybe I should just do the overloading. What did I say I did again in this video? Maybe I could do this more on objects. Objects is data for other objects, overloading, and objects communicating with other objects. How long is this video? I somehow did that in this is in 13 minutes, and it's 2:15. This was made more recently, by the way. You can tell by the gray hair. I'm sorry. I don't stop. It amuses me. Please don't watch me do this. Straw poll recursion. Okay, Simon is making a good suggestion. I'm going to do this. What do you think? Recursion now. More on objects first. So here you go. You have approximately 1 minute to vote on this. And I'm going to answer some questions. Ricardo asks, when are you going to continue neural networks? Unfortunately, right now, I feel like I should turn this volume down. Maybe the volume's actually fine, but I'm hearing it too loud. What was the question? Right now I'm trying to do videos for the courses I'm currently teaching, and when I started these neural network videos teaching about neural networks, and then I had a bicycle accident, yada, yada, yada. I'm behind on it. So as soon as I can get a break and some time where I can kind of get back to it, I will. And I'm hoping that'll be before the end of 2017, but it will 90% be January 2018 if I don't get to it before the end of this year. But I think I will. Danko is making a good point that I won't listen to what the straw poll is, which is kind of true. All right. So I think that was a minute. Problem is you guys are behind me in time. So did I really give you a minute? I don't know if I did. I think I should do the recursion challenge now, by the way. Oh, good. Looks like, all right, so I'll come back to the more on objects. And I'm going to do the recursion challenge now. I'm just going to refresh the results. Refresh the results. Looks like it's only going up, so that's what we're going to do. So I don't know that this is as great as, I don't know if anything can ever be as wonderful as that 10 print coding challenge. I just feel like that's going to be the epitome of everything I ever try to do. That's the wrong word, but let's do recursion. So I'm going to, why am I losing my, and this way also, there's no risk of me not getting to it because the time is running out. And I'm just going to put it in this folder. P5 generate -b. If you're wondering, by the way, I've started using this tool called P5 Manager that I made a video about. P5 generate -b. Plus, I need to read some random numbers. Hello. P5 generate -b recursion. And I can go into Atom here, and I have recursion. And again, I know there's a way in P5 Manager for me to change the template, but I absurdly prefer to just manually do it. So let me just get this started here. Let me go back to the browser. Let me go back. Recursion. Let me minimize this. And now, one thing I do need to do is, and I think, you know, with all this new classes and objects in JavaScript, we definitely need, as always, I always forget this dot sign. Oops. So I need to erase the whiteboard. This dot, I'm going to use this dot, this dot, this dot. I'm going to use this dot, this dot, I'm going to use this dot, 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 never forget this dot, this dot, this dot. Oh, okay. I get screenshots. I can. Oh, I should probably redo that const video. Maybe my apology is good enough. I'm going to do this dot, this dot, this dot, this dot, the this dot song. Never forget the this dot. Somebody compose that song for me. Okay. Whew. Good thing this arm works. Okay. Here we go. Recursion. I know I already did the const video, but I feel like I just like kind of screwed it up, but I feel like I should redo it. But okay. There's that recursion joke, but I don't remember what it is. You know, the recursion joke. Now, actually, so first of all, whoops. I think I already did this video. I'm now realizing, like, didn't I? Okay, well, I did it for nature of code, and then I think I've only done it in JavaScript, these like trees, and that was kind of more complicated than what I'm going to do now. And that was coding challenge 14. So let's do it again anyway. Then I'll read some random numbers, because I know that's what you all really tune in for. Okay. All right. Yes, loops versus recursion, that's definitely going to be a piece of this. So here we go. Today's coding challenge is about recursion. I'm going to make a really simple design of recursion. It's not my own design. It comes from processing examples. I would have to look. Hold on, time out. This is so silly that I'm doing this right now. But this is basically what I want to do. There's no credits to this. Okay. And I'm going to do it slightly differently anyway. Hello. Welcome to today's coding challenge about recursion. So I'm going to make an incredibly simple P5.js sketch with recursion in it. It's not going to be the most beautiful thing. It's not even really my own design. It's just based off of a processing example that's been around for many years. But recursion is a key principle behind the fractal geometry of nature. So I have Benoit Mandelbrot's seminal book on fractals here, the fractal geometry of nature. I have lots of videos about fractal trees and nature of code videos. So this is a thread of fractals being this self-similar shape that exists in nature. If you think about a tree is a trunk that has branches, and those branches have branches, and those branches have branches, and those branches have branches. This is recursion, this self-similar shape. That's not what recursion. Remember how I said I wasn't going to start over? and my nose is running. Give me one more shot. Please, YouTube, shut down my channel. I shouldn't be allowed to be here. Oh, tail recursion and how it's now super efficient in JS. Okay, that'll have to come another time. All right, one more time. I'm just going to start over. Hello, welcome to a coding challenge. This is a coding challenge about recursion. Recursion is a technique. It is actually a concept about self-reference. A recursive function is a function that is defined according to itself. This is what I'm going to do in this coding challenge. What does that even mean? But the reason why I want to show you recursion is it's a key concept behind the fractal geometry of nature. So I have here Benoit Mandelbrot's seminal book on fractals, the fractal geometry of nature. It's a wonderful book. I encourage you to, if you're interested in this subject, it's the beginning of everything in terms of this subject. So I encourage you to get it for yourself or borrow it from the library. And I have a lot of other videos. I'll link to them in this video's description where I made fractal trees, nature of code tutorials about fractals. Fractals being a self-similar shape, a shape that's kind of made up of itself. Recursion is this concept of self-reference. A recursive function is a function defined according to itself. So it's a really elegant way of creating patterns. I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to make a really simple one. It's just basically I'm going to build the example that's been in processing for many years or something like it from scratch. It's from scratch. Okay, what was I lost my train of thought. What I was going to say next. From scratch, and then I've been so enamored with the previous 10-print coding challenge, which is just a simple bit of code and what people made from it. So I'm hoping that the same thing is going to happen. I don't know what the hashtag should be. Hashtag coding trained recursion. I don't know. Somebody will come up with something better. 10-print, I would say recursion, but that's maybe just recursion. I don't know. The point is, share all the things you make on Twitter and also in the README file that'll be on GitHub, linked from this video's description. So let's get started. So I'm going to start with some really simple code. I have a sketch which makes a canvas that's 600 by 400. I am just going to draw in the middle of the canvas an ellipse. And it's going to be at 300, 200, and it's going to be 300 pixels wide and 300 pixels high. I always forget this, but with ellipse, if the width and height are equal, I can just use one argument. And there it is. Now one thing I want to do about this is I want to say stroke 255 and no fill. So let's say, for the sake of argument, what I want now is to repeat this pattern. I want this ellipse, then another ellipse, then another ellipse, then another ellipse, and they're shrinking as they move off to the right. Well, the typical way that I would do that is with a loop structure, a while loop or a for loop. This is a control structure that allows you to repeat code, like draw an ellipse, and change what's happening each cycle through the repeat. But I'm going to do it in a different way. Recursion is a recursive function executes with a loop unto itself, but in a slightly different way. So let me keep going with this. And I'm going to say, what if I wrote a function, almost absurdly, just called draw circle? And that function, I just put this ellipse in it. And what I said is, let me give it an x, a y, and a diameter. And so I'm going to draw the ellipse at an x, y diameter, and then I'm going to say draw circle at 300, 200, 300. So this is like a totally absurd thing that I've done. The code runs exactly the same. Right? This is the same. What I've done is basically redefine the ellipse function and give it a different name and then call that. So this seems kind of ridiculous, but there's a reason why I'm doing that. what would happen? Now just bear with me for a second. What would happen if right in here I said, hey, draw another circle at x plus, I don't know, 20 y d. So this is now this idea of recursion. I'm defining draw a circle according to itself. So when I execute draw a circle, it draws an ellipse, then calls itself. So it draws an ellipse, then calls itself. So it draws an ellipse, then calls itself. So it draws an ellipse, then calls itself. I'm going to stop this eventually. Draws an ellipse, and calls itself. This could result in an infinite loop. So I need some way, just like with a for loop or a while loop, I need to make sure I have an exit condition. So if this function is going to recursively, and this probably looks like something you're not supposed to do, right? You can't call the function from inside the function. But in fact, this is a technique that happens in many algorithms require this kind of recursive thinking. What I'm doing right now does not require this recursive thinking. I could probably do this more easily in a for loop. But in a moment, I'm going to do something else that a for loop wouldn't really work as well for. So here we go. I'm going to give myself an exit. Weirdly, let's just see what happens. So I crash my browser. You know what? So what happened is I got this error. Fortunately, the browser was like smart enough to say like, yeah, hey there, buddy. You are calling yourself way too much. Stop. So it's a maximum call stack size exceeded and blah, blah, blah. Like draw circle, draw circle, draw. This is bad. So it stopped. But you can see I did have this result of it doing itself over and over again. So I could add an exit condition and say, well, only actually call yourself if x is less than width. So if x is changing, right? So keep going until you get to the edge. And now I could do this again, and it stopped, right? But this is not what I want to do, actually. What I want to do, I want to move, but I also want to shrink the diameter. So with each new ellipse, I want the diameter to shrink. So we can see that's happening here. The diameter shrinks by half. And I also want to do something where I move it according to half of the diameter. So now I'm moving each ellipse over according to the radius and shrinking, which is half the diameter, and shrinking it by half. So there we go. Oh, and I got the call thing. So now I need to use keep doing this as long as d is greater than 2. Whoops. As long as d is greater than 2, not less than. So there we go. So now we see I have this ellipse that's moving to the right, that's moving to the right, that's moving to the right. Now let's think about this for a second. So what I have, remember, what I have is an ellipse with a smaller one, and a smaller one, and a smaller one, and a smaller one. That's what I have. Now you might think, well, what if I want to also have the ellipses going to the left? So I could pretty easily do that. And I could have 2 for loops or 1 for loop that kind of grows and shrinks. But what if what I really want is to say, this is not an ellipse, a circle with circles to the right and the left. What it means to be a circle is to have a circle to the right and the left. So this circle also needs a circle to the right and the left. But then this one needs one to the right and the left. Oh, and this one needs to the right and the left. And this one needs to the right and the left, right and left, right and left. Oh, but this one's right and left. This goes on forever. This is this idea of recursion, a fractal, a self-similar shape. If I zoom in on any given portion, it's going to look like the whole shape itself. And this is a, what's the term for that? Stochastic is when it's random. But this is I guess it's not stochastic. Uniform? Somebody in the chat will tell me. Give myself a break here for a second. How are we on time? 2:30. It's like the time is moving so slowly today. Self-similar, deterministic, heuristic, no, beautiful, okay, whatever. I guess maybe there isn't a term for it. Stochastic if it's random, but this is a perfectly self-similar fractal where every piece of it is exactly the same. But one thing you could think about, you could build a little randomness into here, and that's actually referred to as a stochastic fractal. And something like lightning would be that. If you look at lightning, right, it's kind of all this like, are blood vessels or trees, but not every piece of it is exactly the same, but the kind of idea of it is the same. So anyway, I'm off on a little tangent there. Let's actually I wanted this to make this happen. So let me come back in here. So now, right, this is what I have. And so now what I can do, right, is I can say, hey, why don't you not only draw a circle to the right and to the left? Now I double dog dare you with the cherry on top and some non-dairy whipped cream, low fat. Not low fat, you're not supposed to do low fat anymore. Anyway, I dare you to try to recreate what I'm just going to show you right now without recursion. Somebody will do it and my mind will like explode. But this is just like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines of code that's going to do something kind of phenomenal. There we go. So this is the result, right? It's not just circles to the right and left, but it's circles. Look at this. Zoom in. That looks just like what I drew. Zoom in. This looks just like what I did. Now I'm zooming using the zoom feature of the Mac. I'm using a Mac. Could you actually zoom, use scale or some other kind of trickery to like do this sort of like infinite zoom into the fractal? Could you animate this? Don't draw circles, use color. There are so many possible things you could expand on from here. Just to like keep going for another minute or two, I could do them also. I could say, hey, put some circles down, right? Y plus D times 0.5. And let me make the canvas a little bit bigger. And look at this. Now what's crazy about this is, oh my God, I can't believe this just happened. This is actually called the Sierpinski triangle, which formed out of all these circles, which is a triangle filled with other triangles, filled with other triangles, filled with other triangles. That's a fractal you could try to make. I mean, I made it in this sort of weird roundabout way by putting all these things next to each other. So what if I have them go up? What if I have them only go to the right and down? This is like, now I'm just too curious. I'm going to take out to the left. So this is to the, whoa, that's kind of, whoa, it's like the fractal thing on its side. There are so many possibilities here. So I want to think though, so a couple things. One is, this is now executing over and over again, but I'm not doing anything to animate it. I could kind of like give the initial size to like mouse X. So you can see it's kind of like I'm zooming in and out in a way. And interestingly enough, but so there's a lot of things I could do to animate, but I'm going to add no loop right now because I also want to show you, if I were to add just a little bit of randomness into this. Let me go back to the original one. But for example, what if I said let new d, and did I use var? No, I don't have any variables yet. Let new d equals d times random, 0.2 to 0.8. And so now I'm going to say plus new d divided by 2. So I could put some randomness in here. I don't know what this is going to do. This is probably a bad idea for some reason I can't think of just yet. And you can see, I don't know that. So this wasn't, I don't love what I came up with here. But, every time I do this, it's going to give me a slightly different version of it. It's not perfectly, this is a stochastic fractal. The quality of how the shape is repeating itself similar. And someone's telling me to do d times 0.25 in the chat. Maybe that's going to create a more interesting pattern. But this, and again, I have discovered from doing the 10 print coding challenge that the viewership of these videos is way more creative and has so many beautiful design ideas than I do. So I really just need to stop because I don't have any of those ideas. But I'm trying to show you some possibilities here. So I am going to just do one other thing, which is I'm going to take this and make this 0.25, which somebody in the chat was telling me to do. Oh yeah, so that's kind of cool. Wait. Let me make the first circle bigger. Oh, but maybe I need to, but now I don't want to go over by divided by 2. No? Yeah, so that's interesting. Oh, I make crazy weird recursive eyes. Anyway, see, I'm terrible at this. So have fun, make some parameters, make some color choices, make some design choices, share with me on Twitter, hashtag Recursion coding train. I'll pin a comment for somebody will come up with a good hashtag idea and I'll pin it to the top of the comments. And also contribute to the README, and I'll show a bunch of people's recursive designs on next week's coding train, which will be next week. Okay, talk to you soon. Thanks for watching. All right. Another direction up. That would have been good. Okay, so look at this. It's 2:37. I almost weirdly am disturbed by the fact that I have extra time. So many things are wrong with today. Number one is the live stream never crashed. Number two is I seem to be on schedule. I did draw outside of the view for a while, and I did have my microphone muted at the beginning. Otherwise, I'm doing pretty well. Let me mention one thing. I know this is the end. I should have mentioned this at the beginning, but here at NYU, we are starting a new program called Interactive Media Arts. It's an undergraduate program to do stuff in the creative coding sphere in a much wider, broader space than the stuff that I even just do on this channel. If you're interested or thinking about applying, if you're a high school student right now, particularly if you're a high school senior, reach out to me directly, please. At Schiffman on Twitter, or some other means. Probably Twitter's the best way. I'm happy to answer your questions. Check out the open houses. This is a new program that's starting next year, and we're kind of wondering if anybody's going to reply. So I would apply. So I would at least like to know if you're thinking about applying, because I'm curious. And I think there's an early decision deadline coming up. And then, of course, there's the regular deadline. So let me know. I would love to see some of you here. I'm going to teach as part of this program, supposedly, if I don't get fired before then. Or if I, maybe they'll just lock me in this room and I'll just be a 24-hour stream. And now it's time for everybody's favorite part of the coding train. Story time. Oh, let's read some Gaussian deviance. So dangerous. 2.342, 1.766, 2.112. Oh, those were negative. I don't know why I read to the side. It's weird. 0.418, 0.403, negative 0.556, 0.242, 2.610, 1.615, 0.67 negative it was, and 2.423. Oh, I have to do more. 0.179, 1.313 negative, 0.719, 0.76 and 3, 0.597, 1.470 negative, 0.317. Okay, good night, everybody. I'm here. I can answer a few more questions. I'm going to be here for another 4 or 5 minutes because I'm apparently like some strange, bizarro Dan starting. I didn't really start on time, but I was only like 3 minutes late, and I kind of made some videos, and it's only 2 hours. Like last week, I live streamed for 4 hours, and it was like a mess. Okay, I'm from Brazil, and I make some videos about Python. I was making challenge videos. If this thing you created, okay. So this is a great question. Thank you for asking. Everything that I'm not so good about being explicit about the sort of licensing of the materials that I produce here on the coding train. 100%, all of the, I never say 100%, but it's my intention for all of the code that I do in my tutorials and challenges to be MIT licensed, which is the most permissive license. I also am thrilled when people do things inspired by the videos. So if you want to make your own videos, redoing the challenges, or I think the thing people do is like reaction videos, but anything that remixes my content, you are absolutely welcome and encouraged to do so. If I'm using somebody else's stuff, I try whenever possible. One of the things that I really struggle with is that things get misattributed to me. So like, for example, I did the 10 print coding challenge because I love this book. And then people, I get lots of, I said this at the beginning, but like, oh, Dan invented 10 print. Nobody actually said that, but this happens a lot with flocking. I've made a lot of examples of flocking simulations, and all of my examples are based on the work of Craig Reynolds. I didn't discover processing myself. I discovered processing because other people like Amit Pitaru and JT Nimoy were doing workshops at ITP about processing. So yes, I have this public face to this channel. I try to, I always, number one, there's actual rules and laws about copyright and licensing, and I try to follow those, but I also just try to overdo it and be generous with thanking and giving credit where the things I do come from. So please, do your own challenges, share them with me, put them on YouTube, etc. That book does exist for real. So if you think about this, why does this book exist? So there are lots of types of things that you might want to study about how the world works, that you want to simulate, that involve randomness. And you might need a sequence of random numbers. This can be referred to often as a Monte Carlo simulation. And so Yes, and Simon is doing this. Simon's videos on YouTube are doing that. And it's only 8:40. Simon's going to go to bed at a normal time. Do I talk about Simon too much? Simon, you're the greatest. Do you want me to stop mentioning your name? Okay, so why does this book exist? So this book is from the RAND Corporation pre the times where we just had like a computers with pseudo-random number generators on them. And if you needed a sequence of random numbers to do some type of scientific study, you couldn't just like make them up because it's very hard for a human being to come up with random numbers. You could flip coins for a while, perhaps. You'd get some kind of like thermodynamic heat gas simulation and measure it, and it would produce randomness. But this was a book that people used just to look up and have a sequence of random numbers for some type of research. So this is a reprint. This isn't the, I would love, if an original of this book exists, that I would like on eBay or something, I would, within reason, pay a lot to get an original copy, but this is a reprint, and I think you can get this on Amazon. I would love to have like a coding trained book that was like, I don't know, it doesn't make any sense. Can you make something about voxels? Can you make more stuff with 3D? So I don't do a lot with 3D. One thing I do want to mention though, I would like to do more tutorials about 3D, especially this semester when it comes up in my class. Twitter.com/P5JS. Oh, P5XJS is the Twitter account. So I'm going to, P5XJS. And what if I search actually WebGL? Okay, that's kind of funny. Oh, look at all this amazing stuff. Whoa, look at this. Oh, that is awesome. What's that game? This is like that game. I've played it before. It's so cool. Okay, wait, I'm finding all my own stuff. What I was looking for is, here we go. What I'm looking for actually is to highlight the work of KJ Holland on Twitter and also Stalgia, who did Google Summer of Code. And I think I should just go to the P5JS account because I think it tweeted about this. Come on, recently. All this wonderful stuff. You should look at all this stuff. Here we go. Yes, so I feel like there's a blog post on this and I'm just missing it. I apologize. Maybe somebody can find it for me. Coding Math YouTube channel is also great for the maths of 3D stuff. But Stalgia and KJ Holland, Kate Hollenbach did a ton of work this summer on WebGL mode. And I haven't really had the chance to dig into it and try making some new examples, but I'd love to do a new video tutorial about it. So you should all thank them for the wonderful work. And so I would love to do more with 3D and P5JS with this. 3JS is a wonderful JavaScript library for doing 3D on the web too that I would certainly recommend. Will learning P5 make me more employable, asks ThinkBottom. And I'm being told it's 2:47, so I'm going to go in a second. Stealing camera. I don't know why I couldn't get it to work. I should give it one more try. Okay. Did I turn it off, on? Anyway, I don't know. Here's the thing. Learning a particular framework or library or language, like learning Node or learning how to make an Electron app or learning Angular or learning React or learning P5 or learning 3JS, these things come and go. Learning how to learn, I think, is the skill. And so trying new libraries, playing with them, trying a different one, comparing and contrasting, learning how to contribute, learning how to be part of a community of people building software, I think these are the vital skills as opposed to learning a particular technology. It's easy for me to say that in the sort of like, the world that I live in is having this sort of like full-time job, I guess, of teaching, but I do think that this is really key. So P5JS is really, the space that it occupies is a place for creative coders and artists and making visual stuff or sketching. So you can think of it as a place to learn, a place to prototype, a place to make animations and games. And so it's not as obvious of a link to like doing software development for a large company that's going to build a massive website that involves a database and a server-side framework and all this client front-end stuff. So there's so many things to learn. But I certainly think P5 is a great place to explore creativity and learn about programming and build stuff. And so that ultimately, I think, is something that hopefully can make you employable. That's my answer. Machine learning. Yeah. Make this answer into a video. Somebody can just tweet me the link to that answer precisely and see if it makes any sense. 3D, cellular, a lot of people want us to cellular automata challenge. That would be good. All right, I'm going to play my goodbye song. I don't know why I call this a goodbye song, but it's just some arbitrary thing I found on SoundCloud or Free Music Archive once when I searched Rainbow. I like this old-timey style music. Phaser.js is great. I've been trying to get I'm hopefully going to have a guest. I'm hoping to have more guests, do a tutorial about Phaser at some point. It's really my fault just in terms of like time and the amount of time I have and time it takes to organize guests. Ceiling camera. Sorry, all right, I'll try the ceiling camera one more time. Okay, so let me turn it off and on. Okay, ceiling camera. Settings. Last one. No. Settings. Ah, that's it. I found it. Can you see it? Look. Hi, it's me. Looking into the ceiling camera. Oh, you know what I could do that's really, look, here's my marker. These are my hands. Hello. Ceiling camera. This is what I do. This is what I like to do on the coding train. To me, the idea of having a camera above me. But ostensibly, this is for like hardware tutorials, but me, I'm just doing ridiculous stuff with it. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to be ridiculous, and I'm going to add another existing, and I'm going to do green cannon. And now here I am. I crushed your face. I picked the nose. Oh, what? Oh, let me take off my glasses. Whoa. Okay, wait. I have an itch. You know, I have some mild psoriasis here on my forehead. Can you see that? Is that close up? Hello. Oh, look. I'm kind of going bald and I have a lot of gray hair. I'm flying like a birdie. I'm flying like a birdie. Okay. Okay. Thank you, everybody. And scene. All right, so yes, it is weird. Welcome to the weird corner of the internet. And I will see you all next Friday. I don't know what time yet. Usually every Friday morning, New York City time, around 7 or 8 or 9 a.m., I try to post a time for the day. Sometimes it's early like this, sometimes it's later. I often try to tweet the day before, but it'll sometime next Friday. I guess I could try to look at my schedule and determine, but that's what it is. So thank you everybody for watching. I'm gonna just check the Slack channel. If you wanna join the Slack group, it is Le Jean Renard, if I'm pronouncing that all correctly, says, I'm a freelance creative coder and processing was my first experience with creative coding. Coding Train also helped me get started. Great. Okay, so if you want to join the Patreon, it's, do I plug this too much? I feel like I'm plugging it because people seem to enjoy it and it helps motivate me, and you know, I use the funds. I don't know if this is a sustainable thing in terms of actually earning income, but I use the funds to put back into the videos in a lot of ways, and to getting help with doing coding stuff and editing the videos and producing stuff like the crazy trailer, which maybe is not a good use of the funds, but I enjoyed it. So anyway, if you're interested, please join. Okay, so thank you everybody, and here we go. I don't know where I stopped to stop streaming. Goodbye. And again, the edited versions of these videos won't come till the middle of next week, but hopefully this actual live stream archive will be up later today or tomorrow or sometime this weekend. And if you really need to see it and it's not up, you can always tweet me. I can send you like a private link of it till we have it released. Goodbye, everybody. I can't find the button to stop streaming. Oh, there it is. Oh, thank goodness I recorded this to disk. Okay, hit stop recording. And you know, please do not feel obligated to contribute. I enjoy doing this. I'm going to do this anyway. The Patreon is a bonus for me. It really helps out, but it is not the reason why I'm not doing videos that you have to buy. And they are ad supported, but it's because I want anybody to be able to watch them And I don't know if YouTube is the best place to make that happen, and if there's places where they're not accessible, or the P5 and computers aren't accessible, but if I can help at some part bring coding to places in the world where people might not have access to some of this knowledge or tools, I hope I'm doing a good job of that. Okay, goodbye.